name is Elena Pantaleoni. I've been working at La Stoppa for 35 years now. I started in '91 when my father passed away, and my mom asked me for the first time, please help me. At that time I had a bookshop and a music records shop, which is my other passion. So I started in a very humble way in order to understand a bit at the beginning where I was, what I wanted to do. The estate has been founded by a lawyer from Genova called Ageno at the end of 19th century, and my father bought it in 1973. Then in 1980, Giulio Armani joined the estate, and he still works with me. And he has his own project called De Navolo since 2005. So at the beginning, as I said, I started trying to understand what I could do in that place. We are from town, so for me that was my parents' dream, passion. So I knew, of course, La Stoppa, but I never wanted to be involved before. And at the beginning, I think was try to do something unique. That doesn't mean that they are the best wines, because we had a lot of French varieties. So we were making Chardonnay, Sauvignon, Pinot Noir, Cabernet Sauvignon. So after a few years, I understood that with those varieties we couldn't go so far, because even if they were very good, they would have been always a copy of something historically much more renowned from other areas. So from '96 I started planting and focus more on local varieties such as Barbera, Croatina and Malvasia di Candia aromatica. So now the estate, I have 58 hectares, 30 hectares of vines, and 20 hectares of these 30 hectares, 20 hectares are Barbera and Bonarda, 6 hectares of Malvasia, and then we still have some two old vineyards around 100 years old, Semillon and Bonarda, and then we have some Merlot, Syrah, Grenache, Mourvèdre, Trebbiano, Ortrugo, few things that are part of the previous, they are part of the history of the estate. We are organic certified, but for many years now. For me, has always been a starting point. If you want to work with nature, at least you have to respect it. So being or not certified, this is a choice. We chose to be certified. And so we only use copper and sulfur for the main disease. And in the cellar we work without adding yeasts. But all these decisions are a consequence of our feeling, that is, try to understand where we are and try to express in the wines the best expression, every year different, every vintage different, of the place. Of course, according to our sensibility, our experience, our knowledge, and this is shortly the history of myself and La Stoppa. We are in Emilia-Romagna. La Stoppa is in the Piacenza area, which is the northern western province of Emilia-Romagna. We are very close to Lombardy and to Piedmont, so the local varieties are more similar. We share the same varieties, like in Oltrepò Pavese and in Collito Tonesi. So even if we are in Emilia, because the town is just below the Po river, we are closer to Lombardy in terms of variety, in terms of personality also, than the rest of the Emilia. So Lambrusco is not even allowed to be planted in. We are on the first hills at 250 meters on the sea level. The soil is mainly clay, red clay, very poor in nitrogen, very rich in iron. So our wines are considered like Mediterranean wines, are quite warm. Usually, now talking about weather is always challenging, but usually our area is very warm, windy, very low humidity. So the wines are round, and we like to work with ripe berries, ripe grapes. When my father bought the estate, it was bigger. There were 150 hectares, and the lowest part of the farm was dedicated to breed cows, and the upper part vineyards. So I think that my father was equally passionate about wine and cattle breeding, farming, just farming. Then we split the estate with my brother, and so we focused more on wine. But still, the idea of having some few animals at least, and a big vegetable garden, and keep the forest. So on 58 hectares, we have 28 hectares of forest. Some years ago we put bees in order to have some honey also, and to have bees in the property. And then we have a like semi-professional vegetable garden, and then we have chicken, ducks, goose, and we, of course, we left the forest. We decided to be open to public, so we organize visits, and we have also a restaurant open 3 days a week, in order to give the possibility, the opportunity to the people to come and also have lunch with our mainly with our food. Gives me all this part, of course it's for us, it's for my employees, but then also give me the chance to talk about farming, because wine is farming, no? Sometimes I think that people forget that wine is part of agriculture, and making artisanal wine, the farming part is very important, and I try as much as I can to use wine as a media to talk about at the end a choice of life that I did. And I always tell these people that come to visit that every day they have the chance to decide how to spend their money and how to spend their time. And they come to visit me. Wine is important, but you can also live without wine. But eating, after a few weeks, if you don't eat, you die. So that should be a priority. And so I try to make people understand how important is the way they eat, and try to enlarge our community, because if you buy from artisans, if you buy from farmers, you also support a model of being entrepreneur, which is for sure one of the biggest, strongest and biggest points in Italy. So Italy is made by a lot of small artisans, and so my responsibility, I think, my goal is also to try to make people change their mind. It's not the taste of the wine that is so important. It's the choices that everyone makes every day. Then you may like my wines or not. This is not so important. I try to do my best, but then personal taste is personal. It's very subjective. Me personally, I started in 91. My family, 73. the world has really changed completely in the last years. We have a very short memory. So wine has been produced in the way I and many other producers make wine for thousands of years. The only thing that has always been used is sulfur. In the last maybe 70 years or so, everything has changed with technology, with enology. So now you can make wine with a lot of things that you can add to the wine. No? Wine has become very trendy. Wine has become like a commodity somehow. For Italians, wine has always been part of our meal, because Italy is a country of farmers, and so I'm not talking about centuries ago. I'm talking about few years, not few years, but like decades ago. The consumption of wine was maybe 3 times or 4 times what is the consumption now. So everything has changed very fast. We learned to make wine in this way. So try to respect the place where you are. So never wanted to produce more, never wanted to stress the soil or in order to produce more. Jane already left a very nice example of how the wines from La Stoppa were made. He left also written things, and also the old people remembered that the wine of La Stoppa often were sweet and very high in alcohol content, no? So no sparkling as most of the wines of the region are, because of the soil, because of the climate. So I think we kept on doing what was the example that we had. And also my father was a printer, my grandfather also, so he was used to decide and to do things. When he arrived at La Stoppa, he understood very quickly that it wasn't like this, that nature was much stronger than his decisions. Doesn't mean that you become fatalist, but you have to respect. And you have to change a little bit the perspective, because nature is much, much stronger than you are. I think that I'm there for by chance and for very short time. If you think how long can last an estate, or how long can last those plants, no? I don't think my position is humble. My position is realistic. So by the time I'm there, my best effort has to be to maintain, to be a guardian of the place, to give identity, and that's it. It's very short what I can do, no? And so maybe because I didn't study enology, but I studied languages, and I come from a more humanistic education. So I always tried to ask me why do things before how, and still now I never take things for granted. Every person that comes to visit us, or every chance that I have, like today, to speak to people, I know very well that I have a very big responsibility, of course, among our small world. And so I try to be aware of what I do. I care about my place. I'm very proud of being there. I also tried to build like a community around myself. That means that a lot of young producers started to make wine at La Stoppa. We have very good restaurants, very good artisans also that make different things, and a nice community of other producers that work in the same way. So in a respectful way, with the proudness of and the awareness of being in a place that has a big potential, even if it's not known, no, as a famous appellation or so. All, as I said, all the things that we do are a consequence of these thoughts. We work almost everything by hand. We do the treatments. We work very superficially the soil in order to avoid the grass. I have a team working with me all year long, and this is also something that for me is very important, no? To give work and money to people that some of them are with me for decades, no? Giulio 46 years, other people 30 years, 25 years, and we grew together, no? I know that without them I can't do anything, and each of them has a very important role in managing my estate. I buy most of the things that I can buy from artisans because I want to support that, and also I try to sell my wines to a very reasonable price. That my wines, I want them to be approachable to young people, to most of the people. I haven't struggled so much for so many years, and at the end contribute, not to be part of a movement that think that to eat and drink healthy food or healthy wines, you have to be rich. No, it's not true. It doesn't have to be like this. So what we do is working very traditionally in the vineyards. So we have a Guyot pruning system, which is traditional. We have around 5,500 plants per hectare. We produce around 1 kilo and a half per plant. I'm talking really generally speaking. We pick up the grapes when they are ripe. We don't like to work with unripe grapes. We go in the vineyards more than once in order to pick up with homogeneous quality and the size of the berries in order to make an easy wine like Trebbiolo or a Riserva wine like Macchiona. So we go several times. So the selection is made in the vineyard, and then we destem all the grapes, and then with a pump we fill the tanks that are inox or concrete tanks. We make pumping over, and it depends on the quality of the grapes and so the size of the berries and how the vintage has been. We make from 5-10 days of maceration up to 3 months for a Geno, generally speaking always. And then at the end we make the blend. Trebbiolo is only in inox. All the rest of the wines are in wood. We have 40 hectoliters, 15 hectoliters, 20 hectoliters barrels, barrique, used barrique, and they stay there for the time they need. And then we bottle. Only Trebbiolo and the sweet wines are filtered, and we put some sulfites at the bottling. Otherwise, all the other wines are unfiltered and no sulfites, because they are well protected by the age, by the time, by the maceration, by the tannins. And then we bottle, and then we wait until the wine is ready to be sold. There isn't any ideological position in that, despite of all my philosophy before. It's just we try to use common sense and use sulfites when we need, and no sulfites if it's not needed. So I call them artisanal wines because this is the approach. So the artisanal approach is to understand where you are and adapt yourself to the place. An industrial approach is to have a model in your mind, and wherever you are, whenever, however has been the vintage, to do a wine that you have in your mind, which is nothing bad. I mean, this is my approach, and then there is a different approach. And so we release the wine when we think they are ready. So for example, now we are selling Macchiona 18, but we are waiting for 17 and 15 because we think that they need more time. We released D'Ageno 22, and we are waiting for 21 because we think he needs more time. Being an entrepreneur, I think at least we have to have the freedom, the independency to take choices. And so I try to sell to the people I think they can carry my wines at the price that I want, and which vintage I prefer. I take the risk, I take the responsibility to choose.